We have a really exciting project with a really awesome founder who I have, I've speak to a lot of people in this space, and I told him this privately, but I'll say it publicly. I just love talking to this guy. He knows what he wants. He doesn't give us the runaround. He is a serious businessman, but he's also a lot of fun to talk to. Alpay, I'm handing it off to you. Please introduce yourself. Please introduce your company. We are so excited to have you on here.
Hey, thanks, Based. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, this has been great. I feel really honored to be up here right now. So yeah, big thanks to you, Higuana, and Lambda for sharing some time. I also want to say shouts to the Ordinals Revolution guys and to Mattyverse. I don't know if they're still in the chat, but I'm fans of all you guys. So hats off. Reputable voices are really important here, and those walkthroughs go a really long way. But yeah, so Superfan is a consumer facing Web3 platform. There aren't many of us out here yet, so I'm psyched to be early in the consumer category. That's a pretty important distinction, so I'll come back to that. But our approach brings new money into the ecosystem for a new kind of value. There's no sense of wash here. We're not moving tokens around between existing wallets. New fiat comes in from a largely Web2 consumer and helps supply our liquidity pool. And we're aiming to do this at scale. I'm kind of connecting two different worlds. There's different opportunities at play here. And by connecting the dots, there's a really good solution in the works. Okay, so what is the platform? We're essentially combining social and music tech on Web3 Rails to create a new kind of revenue stream for artists. They've always gotten a raw deal, and this year Spotify will pay out even less than a fraction of a penny than they've been paying out so far. So we activate the super fans. These are the most high value kind of ride or die fan by onboarding them into what is essentially token gated membership for fan communities. This is not something that exists out in the Web2 normie world, nor here in Web3, right? So think of it like subreddits for the most religious fan bases. We get to show up as a hero on the landscape, and this landscape desperately needs a hero more than ever. It's worth mentioning that we're not here to break new Web3 talent like Sound XYZ or Audius with those projects we're doing. We're working with established artists who have huge inbuilt audiences. That means that we have the potential to accumulate a really huge audience of our own. And we've got flywheels in place to keep them around. That's the social part. We've got the tokenomics in place, which helps with the revenue share and a lot of fun stuff in there. And with Lambda's success, we're also now talking kind of behind the scenes with Lambda directly to see how we could cross-pollinate the tech we've been building with the stuff happening on Lambda in order to find some new value and create some new functionality on Bitcoin. And I think I've rambled enough. I'll leave it there.
Dude, that was perfect. You have a gift for just like elevator pitches because I feel like I ramble like way too much, and I feel like I got everything at once. So that was great.
I'm laughing because I think of myself as the worst, but thanks.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you on. I think what really blew us away about your pitch deck when you approached us was just your knowledge like of the space. I think like one of the things that I talked about early on with Basepad was like what makes a good company, or like what are the things that like you really need to be looking at, because look, there's like tons of great ideas out there that don't work, and you're like, why don't they work? And there's a few different things. There has to be like product market fit, there has to be a good team, and then there has to be a good product. Um, but then the other thing that like a lot of people like don't talk about as much that kind of fits, it's like a subcategory of product market fit, is timing. And timing's like the hardest thing because timing's like we really can't control it. It's like all these external factors that really decide when the right timing is, which sucks for a founder who's like so excited to get something out, and they're like, but then they just put it out at the wrong time. You're thinking about like MySpace, like it was the first real like social network, but then it's like, why does everyone use Facebook? It's because Facebook was just timed better, and that wasn't. It's kind of like there's a luck factor to that a little bit. But if you want to talk about like more on like the Spotify stuff or the lapsing of these record kind of deals happening all, happening at the same time and coming together and how that's really going to propel your business because the timing seems perfect.
Yeah, timing's really important here. And I kind of didn't mention it because I didn't want to go too long, but I'm glad you're asking. We're kind of nailing timing in a couple of ways really well. You mentioned MySpace, and something I think they did well, and I'm kind of old enough to remember, was the UGC. So people kind of had the option to do like a radical self-expression through copy pasting HTML tags and designing their page, their profile how they wanted to. Now, just imagine if they had generative AI to do that. So now non-designers could really take self-expression to another level. And when you're talking about fandoms and when you're talking about buying into what's essentially a fan club, you're in an arguably non-toxic space where you've got a lot of like minds, and the ability to kind of flex and show off what you're into in that environment with the power of stable diffusion on the back end, which is what we've been building, um, is is going to be really fun, and that's part of our flywheel to keep people interested and give them creator tools. But then, yeah, jumping over to what you just mentioned about artist contracts. So there's something that's kind of lovingly called the 35-year rule, and what that means is a lot of artists from the 90s who signed really bad contracts, these predatory deals from record labels. This kind of includes hip hop in a big way and alt rock, which were two big genres of that time. They didn't make any money on their music. In some cases, they didn't get back the money invested in studio time. That's how bad it was. So they've been surviving all these years on what they could make by doing live shows. But what's happening is now that 35 years have elapsed, we're at 1989 right now. For the next decade, we're going to see the rights to that whole decade of music change hands. And for the first time ever, all those artists will be owners of their music. So we're going to see a lot of re-releases. We're going to see a lot of opportunities for licensing. Now, these guys don't know the licensing business. They don't know how to be their own boss in a lot of cases. And in a lot of cases, they don't know about this law. So they've only got a 2-year window to recapture their rights. And part of what we're doing on the platform, we want to be that hero. We want to stand out as a safe space for artists. So part of the attraction to bring them over is by offering them some automated help to recapture their rights and help them stand on their art from the past. So that's kind of a glitch in the matrix in a way that we're tapping into, and we want to be really well known for it. So and that's super timely. That's like right now, today.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's so cool to see that we can kind of be or sorry, not we, you can be the saving grace in this, and just take on the music industry. I feel like that's just such a big part of like crypto itself. With specifically with like me, um, coming from more of that traditional finance background, and I just hate the machine of it. Like I just don't like the fact that these behemoths, they know that they have all the power, they know that you're this like creative, and they just like suck the creative inspiration out of you because it's the one thing that like they don't have, and then they just use it to their advantage. And I'm sorry, this is like a very negative view on like there is definitely good actors in finance and the music industry and stuff like that, but like you said, like they're predatory deals that really take advantage of people that really don't know what they're doing, and they give up all the rights to their entire like soul in a way because their art is like a piece of them. So it's really just cool to be helping you launch this project that's going to empower artists. It's
Well,
just a really beautiful thing.
I'll hit you with a statistic. More than 87% of the 11 million artists on Spotify consider themselves inadequately paid. So they're all seeking another option. And a lot of those artists have large fan bases. Spotify themselves considers anybody who gets 50 repeat listeners a day, those listeners are considered super fans. those are the people that we feel like we can capture all of them and then some, right? So yeah, I hate to use the word disruption, but I think that whole space is ripe for disruption. Such an abused word, but it really applies here. And I think we're going to mop up because the sentiment around crypto, the sentiment around the word Web3, even though if a lot of these artists don't know what that really means under the hood, they all see it as a possible savior, right? So the sentiment is great in that respect. And I think for that reason, our onboarding strategy is really going to kill it.
It's amazing.
That's
Can I just chip in a base and just add something that I think is very interesting on what Alpay is bringing. Um, when I first got in touch with Alpay and he taught me um, about Superfan, what I heard was an incredibly ambitious project with so many different layers that it offers to its users. I picture myself as a user, and I immediately realized that for me to fully understand his product, his what he's trying to portray to people, I had to put myself in different shoes. Um, this project brings so many different narratives. You have, for instance, the perspective of the artist that can get a better pay, that can create these experiences that will increase their fandom, that will be able to interact with their fans in a completely different way, in a way so innovative, but yet so simplistic that reminds me a lot about. It's got this lambda feel to it. You know, the first time that I heard about lambda, that's how I felt the first time that I spoke to Alpay about Superfan. And then he showed me the other parts to it. So we talked about the users as artists, but also the users as fans, or those people that will be able to get onboarded from a completely different perspective, knowing that they actually really not only helping their favorite artists by promoting a better way of paying, of owning their stuff, of giving them the royalties, but also interacting in these new experiential ways that the platform will be presenting to them. And it's mind blowing that that's not the end, right? So you have not only those established artists, you have the users, but you also have people that are just there trying to create something new. And there is a whole new narrative around AI with the stable diffusion visualizer generation that he also presents as part of his product that enables people so easily communicate in a different way, such an innovative way with their communities. That when I thought about it, I was like, my goodness, there's so much in here. I am so excited to be working with someone that's such a visionary. Again, it really puts us in a place that's actually fun to work with. I can't wait to find out more and to introduce to the community more and more concepts that Superfund brings.
That's awesome, Iguana. I have one response to that, and that is like the challenge, but also the most fun part for me about this project is the strong context switching when thinking about these different personas, right? So like we always hear about how UX is the thing that needs to improve in Web3 and across blockchain in general. And so when we're context switching between the Web2 normie, the music artist or manager, what staking mechanisms mean and the genomics, like all these different personas have different needs here. And that means a different user experience for each. When sketching out all those, where the tug of war is and where the needs are, they all look really different through their own lenses, but they can all be happy here because each one of these personas in some ways supports the needs of the other. For example, my mention at the top of this was the fiat coming in from the Web2 consumer feeds the liquidity pool, which informs the staking, right? So it becomes a machine, it becomes a flywheel, and it's possible for it to keep spinning and everybody involved to be happy, even if their own user experiences don't overlap much.
that's
And
awesome. And yeah, I think that's a great way to wrap up the show.